Alright, so today I'm going to go over the Shoe Shop Plus store and just go over some of the quick scenes here and what I was thinking when I created it in 2005. So first thing, Fred, he parks his bike, he's getting out and ready to go check out the shoe store, see what's available since his shoes are really worn out. But if we look at the graffiti here, one of the residents wrote, "Use your mind, not theirs," meaning the worms. The worms are taking over the mind, and that related to the whole theme of think while you still can, because before the worms take over your brain. GAR, that could refer to George A. Romero. And then fear is useless is something I actually try to live by, because if you're afraid of something and you give in to that fear and avoid going for that goal that you're aiming for, that's good to think, well, fear is useless because it's not going to get you to your goal. It's just going to get in your way. So just think, well, fear is useless. I'll just go ahead and take the step necessary to achieve the goal, and that's it. You don't let it stand in your way, even though it feels like, oh, don't go ahead. Just take one small step, and that's how you start to accomplish things. You don't always get your results, but you just keep trying. This way, when you get back towards the end of your life and look back and say, well, hey, at least I gave it a try, and even if it didn't work out, you didn't let fear hold you back. So that's why I wrote that on there, because fear is useless in a lot of ways. All right, so here he is entering the shoe store, and then he starts to have hallucinations from his brain infection. So then he sees the shoe lady, and they're quite a good selection of shoes there, but as you know, sometimes you go to the shoe store and they just don't have the size you're looking for. And sometimes you could go with a larger shoe, but that gives too much room, and then if it's too small, there's just no way you could fit that shoe. So that's kind of a situation that he was in there, although he didn't have time to look because of what happens shortly after. So here's his license that he pulls out. And this shows Frederick Figueroa. He lives on Street B, the second floor of Rott, Central City, Earth. That was Rott, Central City, but sometimes referred to as Trott, Central City, with the T faded off on the signs. But here he's going to be on the second floor in the new City Rott Origin prequel. You'll actually see his home, and he lives on the second floor. But I did have to double check my age. Originally I thought he was like about 26, but just looking at his license plate here, he was born August 1985, and August 1985. I know 1985 is when Romero's Day of the Dead was created and released in theaters. But this is when Fred was born, so if he's 20 years old, that would mean the City Rott 1 takes place during 2005, which is when the license expired. But he's 6'1", brown eyes, and he signed his name there. You can see he's a motorcyclist and a automobile driver. But you can see how rapidly he aged, and that's what I'll really cover in City Rott Origin as a main focus of the story, a big focus of the story. So then he sees this shoe clerk is actually a zombie now, and then the shoe lady is a zombie. So then he's got more zombies approaching that he has to get rid of. And then there's a little nod, I guess, he makes with the gun there. And then, okay, he gets outside here. And then the zombie lady, I guess the gun runs out of bullets, so he had to throw that at her face. But you can see it went to the different eyes. So that's something I wasn't quite paying attention to back when I made it. So if you look, it's in this eye here, which is the right eye on her as she's looking forward. So then if it's the right eye, that's her right eye right there. So it should have been right there. See how if you turn, it would be right there. But that was just one of the flaws of my original animation. Because even if we look at Fred's shirt, I have this in one of his pockets, and I realized later during the whole filming, after everything was starting to render, during the bridge scene, I said, well, I got to acknowledge how this pocket protector keeps switching from one pocket to the other. So I had him lift up his protector and put it in his other pocket as part of the joke that, I should have had two pocket protectors in there. This way, when you switch back and forth, or just have one that would be a separate layer, and then you just switch it left to right as necessary. But that's something I learned over time about switching the way the character faces. So that was a good lesson to learn back in 2005 when I was 30 years old, when I made City of Rott 1. And then he drives off on his motorcycle, rides off on his motorcycle, and then the zombies show up and start chowing down on the on the scraps. And then there's some flies. They're going to have a lot more flies in the new City of Rott Origin, which is in full production. This lady looks pretty cool. I like her blank eyes there. And I try to vary the eyes of the zombies so they don't all look the same. And it also depends on the rotworms too, if they've really affected the eyes in that way. This zombie's shoveling the food into its mouth, and these zombies are fighting over the food. Yeah, I definitely gotta have a scene like this again in the new Origin. But then the big plague takes over, and if we look at this test version for the military tracker of heat signals, well, these wouldn't be heat signals since the zombie would be a corpse. There wouldn't be any heat detected. So somehow this machine detects movement through the city, and it's more like not a heat signal but a tracking radar. So it's just tracking the movement. So any like significant movement it detects. But this was originally, if you look, 1968. That was Night of the Living Dead. 1978, Dawn of the Dead. 1985 is, of course, my big inspiration, Romero's Day of the Dead, for the opening scene in the city of Florida, and then the final act, the zombies in that final act, and of course Bob the zombie, and all the really dynamic characters. But that was definitely a huge inspiration with the really rotten zombies. The way they looked and moved and everything else is like unlike anything I've ever seen. I think I first saw that in 1987 when I was a kid, and it was on VHS. We rented it from the video store, and that I never forgot it. It was like shocking when I saw it back then. But yeah, that was definitely something that always kept in my mind there for zombie movies. And then 2005 is Romero's Land of the Dead, which was released during 2005 while I was making City of Rott 1. But that sums up some of the ideas I had while I was making this scene for the shoe store. He never did get his shoes in the first movie, but he kept seeing those hallucinations to go after that pair of shoes. But thanks for watching along, and hope you made it to the end of the video. And yeah, working on City of Rod Origin. There's no release date yet, but definitely I'm going to try to make it the best I can, so I don't want to push it faster than it'll be the best that it can be. All right, thanks for your support. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.